Hey everyone, I'm Jim Fitzpatrick. Thanks so much for tuning in today. Joining us today is Chris Voss, who is the CEO at the Black Swan Group. He's also a keynote speaker. Chris was the lead international hostage and kidnapping negotiator for the FBI and a best-selling author of his book, Never Split the Difference, Negotiate as If Your Life Depends on It. This is a phenomenal book that if you have not read, we've made a link right underneath this video for you to just click and get the book. If you're in sales, if you're in business, if you're just in life and you're enjoying life, this is a book that you need because it will help you throughout it all. So Chris, welcome to the show. Really appreciate you taking the time out of your schedule to join us here.
Yeah, Jim, happy to be on. Thanks for having me on.
Sure. So your book, Never Split the Difference, emphasizes the importance of tactical empathy in negotiations.
Right.
How do you define and apply tactical empathy?
You know, it's applied people smarts, applied emotional intelligence, calibrated in by, what we've sort of learned collectively as human beings about neuroscience and how emotions react. And it's just, counterintuitive stuff such as you got to get the negatives out of the way before you can talk about the positives. And how do you get the negatives out of the way, certain things like that. It just speeds up interactions.
Yep, for sure. How can individuals enhance their emotional intelligence to become more effective negotiators?
Emotional intelligence is an interesting thing. It's kind of it's kind of an unlimited superpower that everybody was born with if they just develop it. IQ, if you will, has a certain limitation. EQ kind of doesn't.
Mm-hmm.
So how do you get better at it? You practice taking, guesses at how somebody's feeling based on what you read on their face, on their body language, and their tone of voice, not on how you want them to feel. Like when I see somebody in a grocery store or the clerk and they look like they're really concentrating, I don't go, "How are you?" I go, "Looks like you're having a tough day." Because I can take a pretty good guess at how they are. Now, the more you make these guesses, the better you get. It's kind of astonishing how good you can get at this if you're willing to risk and be wrong occasionally, because when you're wrong, people actually kind of like it because you noticed them and they'll correct you and they feel like they're collaborating with you when they do that.
That's right. That's a very good point. That's a very good point. So you have mentioned the importance of using your voice and using inflections. What's the significance in that? You just touched on it a little bit, but drill down a little bit further.
Yeah, well, emotions have a contagion.
Mm-hmm.
And if you have calm in your voice, there's neuroscience reasons why that calm will be contagious to the person you're talking with.
Yeah.
If you have a smile in your voice, people can feel that. And that's contagious as well. You're 31% smarter in a positive frame of voice, a positive frame of mind. Now, the really tricky one, and I'm happy to admit I learned this from the Wolf of Wall Street, Jordan Belfort, read his book, the inquiring inflection. Like, I can say to you, look, when I told you about emotional intelligence, you didn't believe me. Now, that downward inflection, it almost felt like I was disapproving of your disbelief. And if I was telling you about emotional intelligence and you didn't believe me, now that lands differently. And so the inflection on that is just makes tougher things land softer. And you can really get away with saying stuff to people that they need to hear, but you need it to land softly.
Yeah, of course. Have you been called upon by big companies now because there's so many Zoom calls that are taking place that all of those things are so important now when they weren't before because you had people in offices that it's how are you going to present this issue or this problem or this challenge, right?
Yeah, we train companies and coach individuals and small groups and companies constantly. And this is absolutely essential to accelerating business teams.
Sure. There's no question about it. And so much of this plays its role in sales today, right? There's a lot of people that are watching right now that happen to be in sales and they've heard of, they've got their own training that's taken place on negotiations. I think you've taken it to the next level though. Talk to us about the importance of being a good negotiator in sales.
Well, in point of fact, you probably get into the negotiation and the sales process much earlier than you realize.
Yeah.
I had people ask me this question for a long time. What's the difference between sales and negotiation? Sales is trying to get the words I want or I need into somebody's brain.
Mm-hmm.
And once you got it there, you're in a negotiation. If you wait till you're talking about price, you've been in the negotiation for a while. The most dangerous negotiation is the one you don't know you're in.
Good
So the
point.
minute you've got the sales idea, the buy idea planted in somebody's head, now it's a negotiation much earlier. Most sales books, the negotiation chapters at the end. Like, I got news for you. You were probably negotiating right after you said hello. So how do you build trust and how do you accelerate the process is the issue.
Yeah, for sure, for sure. In your book, you emphasize the significance of no in negotiations. How can
Right.
negotiators turn a no into a positive outcome without sacrificing their goals?
Yeah, that's one of the most ridiculous things that is so utterly true. People feel concerned when they say yes. What am I letting myself in for? What are the hidden traps here?
Sure.
How you tying me down? Everybody's conditioned to get concerned when they say yes. Any group I do a keynote for, training for, I say to them, when the voice on the other end of the phone says, have you got a few minutes to talk? What's your reaction? Everybody goes, no. Why is that? The simplest yes there is. And the really ridiculous thing is you just flip your yeses to nos. Is now a bad time to talk? Do you disagree? Does this look like a bad idea? Are you against this? As nervous as people are made to feel when they say yes, they've been conditioned that when they say no, they protect themselves. And consequently, their head clears and they listen much more closely. So anybody that we train, we're out of the yes business. We're into the no business. Have you given up on this project? Is now a bad time to talk? Does this look like a bad idea? Across the board, it just accelerates everything.
I love it. I love it. It's a totally new way of looking at this, that's for sure. What other advice do you have for entrepreneurs or individuals, I should say, who may find negotiation or confrontation challenging?
Well, negotiation and confrontation. Confrontation is a subset of negotiation.
Sure.
First of all, look at negotiation as a collaboration for long-term relationship.
Mm-hmm.
It puts your heart in the right place. It gives you good intention. Intention has a smell. People begin to immediately trust you more if you know and you're communicating. I want a long-term, prosperous relationship.
Mm-hmm.
That opens things up. Now, don't take yourself hostage. How do you take yourself hostage? If you feel you have to have the deal, and the minute you feel you have to have the deal, you've taken yourself hostage. Now, confrontation. Look at it as simply a focused comparison. It's one of the dictionary definitions of confrontation. So when you ask somebody if they're doing something that doesn't make sense, it doesn't add up, it doesn't line up with their words, say, well, when you said this and you did that, how do those line up? That's that inflection I was talking about before, comparing goals, deadlines with actions, and then just throwing it out there very deferentially. How do these things line up? That's an emotionally intelligent confrontation. It probably needs to take place,
Mm-hmm.
but it does in such a gentle, deferential way that it's nothing to be afraid of. You're asking legitimate questions.
That's right. That's right. And negotiation is part of everything we do in life, right? I mean, on the way home, my wife, who's my partner, is going to ask me, where do I want to go for dinner tonight? And there
Right.
ensues, that starts the negotiation process. But everything we do, whether my kids at college want to, ask me for money or I want them to come home, whatever the case might be, everything is a negotiation, isn't it?
Yeah, and anytime somebody's time is involved, you want them to get them to do something. Their time's involved. You want them to agree
Right.
to collaborate with you in a restaurant. Their time is involved. And the more people, even they don't necessarily need you to agree. The overriding desire that people need is to feel heard. And it's amazing how many deals you can make that'll come all the way to you if you just make the other person feel heard.
That's right. That's right. No question about it. Well, this is why you're #1 best-selling author and a keynote speaker that everybody wants at their conference. So Chris Voss, CEO of the Black Swan Group, thank you so much for joining us on the show. We very much appreciate it. As I said to our viewers before we got started here today in this great conversation, There's a link below. I encourage you to make the purchase now on the book. You're one click away from really becoming a great negotiator and learning the psychology behind it all, because it's so important no matter whether you're selling pencils or cars or furniture. This is an area that you really want to conquer in 2024. So Chris, thank you once again. I really appreciate all the time you've given us. I know that our viewers and subscribers will get a lot out of your visit with us. So thank you.
Pleasure was mine.
Great. Thanks.